Hi everybody, it's Raphael from Ohio Tropics. Do you guys like my new intro? I just got that made. I figured it'd be about time to have a nice intro for my YouTube videos. In today's episode, I'd like to talk about pot types and the pros and cons of each one. And I've had a lot of my readers and followers ask me certain questions as far as why I do certain things. So I wanted to share with you guys this information in this video. So I have many plants here that I wanted to demonstrate with and show you exactly what I mean. I've been asked many times, first off, why do I double pot my plants? And I'm gonna give you a short reason and a long reason, so bear with me. So I have this begonia here that I grew from one leaf cutting. I'm pulling off some bad leaves here from one leaf cutting, and I currently have it. It's actually growing in a plastic nursery pot. So I'd like to talk about plastic nursery pots first, and I have it slipped inside of a decorative ceramic container. So why do I do this? So first of all, I love doing that because, another example here, here's a little mini aloe that I have that's growing in a nursery pot, and I have it slipped in a decorative container. The reason I like to keep plants growing in nursery pots are because they're very easy to repot or to take out of the pots. So really all you have to do is just squeeze, kind of go around. If you know or sense that your plant is pot bound, just kind of go around to loosen it and then gently tip it over, and voila. As easy as that, right? So this one doesn't look terribly pot bound. I'm gonna leave this in here, but look how easy that was. And really the reason I do this, and I tend not to plant directly into ceramic pots anymore for that reason, because they're so much easier to do this and then just slip inside of a decorative pot. Another advantage of doing this is that if you get sick of the decorative pot, you can switch it out and put it in another one, and you don't have to repot your plant. So that's one good way, one good reason why I like to use the plastic nursery pots. Sometimes you do have to get a little bit creative. So for this one, for this begonia, in order for it to sit flush inside of this one does not have a drainage hole at the bottom. What I did was I put some pebbles at the bottom to raise the level a little bit so that the plastic pot is flush and the plant rests nicely inside of this pot. The one thing you do have to watch out for if you do this method, if your decorative pot does not have a drainage hole at the bottom, is just watch for collected water. So if you're watering your plant in place, make sure that you're discarding any water that gets accumulated in the pot. So that's very, very important. Another reason I like to use plastic nursery pots fitted inside of a more decorative pot with no drainage hole. Always place your plants inside of pots that have drainage holes. I'm not saying it's impossible to grow plants in pots without drainage holes, but there's so many things that can go wrong. You have to be very careful with how you water. And the second part is that if you're fertilizing, all those fertilizer salts are going to accumulate in your potting mix, and eventually, that has nowhere to go since there's no drainage hole. So it might end up affecting your plant and burning your plant and damaging your plant in the long term. So I always recommend drainage holes. I wanted to show you guys this beautiful orchid. Isn't it gorgeous? This is I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, it's a Silogene cristata, which is a cooler growing species. And I wish you guys can smell it. It smells beautiful. It has like a spicy fragrance to it. More so in the evening, not so much now. But what I like with orchids, and you can do the same with Phalaenopsis or moth orchids, any orchids that are growing in a bark mix, I like to grow them this way because what I'll do is I'll fill, as you can see, there's water in the pot. I'll fill this pot up with water, let my orchids soak for, a good half an hour, depending on how dry it is. And then I'll just simply take this out and dump the extra water out, put it back in here, and put it back in its growing location. What else do we have here? Let's talk a little bit about terracotta pots. Terracotta pots there's a lot of pros and cons. They are fairly inexpensive. They dry out pretty quickly, which can be a pro or a con. So I'd recommend if you have any moisture-loving plants, try by all means to avoid these pots because they're going to dry out way too quickly for you, especially the tiny ones. I know one time I just out of convenience, I bought a bunch of 4-inch terracotta pots, and those things would dry out so quickly. I got them because they were cheap, and they just dried out way too quickly for most plants. I do like to use terracotta pots for succulents. I love them for Hoyas. And what else? For snake plants. Of course, I'm holding one and I'm forgetting. They're wonderful for snake plants. I've had this particular one, I think, for 17 or 18 years at this point. So they're wonderful for plants that do need to dry out very quickly because of the porous nature of terracotta. One thing to be aware of for terracotta is that because it's so porous, you have to be careful what you're setting your pots on, if you're setting it on any wooden furniture, because the water's going to seep through and damage your furniture. Now, there are a couple of ways to get around it. This particular one, in this saucer, they glazed you can see it's shiny, they glazed the inside of the saucer so that water doesn't go through it. Most of the saucers that you'll find are going to be unglazed, so you'll just have to watch. You may have to put something underneath if you're setting it on top of wooden furniture. Maybe a plastic coaster or something underneath so that it doesn't damage your furniture. Another disadvantage of using terracotta is that, especially for a plant like this that got nice and full, they're sometimes hard to take out of the pot in order to repot. Sometimes, I'm not going to try it on this one, but sometimes your plant will come loose. But other times, if you have a really thick plant here or a plant that's just spewing over, cascading over the pot itself, it's sometimes hard to take out without breaking. So sometimes what I'll do, and I'm going to show you a quick video briefly here, is I'll take a hammer to it and just break the pot because the plant's worth to me more than an inexpensive terracotta pot. And I do reuse the pot shards. I like to cover the drainage hole. Put it down like this, like an upside down U over the drainage hole. I know some people don't like to do that. I've been doing that forever and it works great for me. So I do reuse the pot shards. But sometimes you'll need to break them because it's the easiest way to take your plant out and you don't have to worry about damaging your plant. So check out the video here where I took out my Pilea peperomoides or Chinese money plant using a hammer. Sorry. This pot type, although it may seem convenient, there's a huge drawback. So this one has an attached saucer, and you have to watch out for these types of pots. The reason I say watch out for these is because I find that the plants with attached saucers are very slow to drain water. So when I go to water, the water will come through and I'll tip it over, and then I'll set the plant down, come back in a couple of minutes, there's more water there. Then I'll tip it over again, and so on. And so sometimes it'll take a few minutes before you can empty out all the water. So just be careful. If you're watering these types of pots in place, be careful that your plant is not sitting in water because it could lead to root rot. So just be careful of that. So for these types of pots, I normally almost always take them to the sink so that I can set them down, come back a few minutes later, pour them out. But I'm not planting any more plants directly into this type of pot anymore, just because of that fact. Okay, a couple more things to discuss before we wrap up here. I wanted to talk about some hanging planters. There's a couple different types, and mainly I just wanted to talk about the ones with drainage and ones without. So I have this is one of my Ripsalis, and I have it growing in a plastic pot. You can kind of see here, it's just protruding above here. I have it growing directly in there, and then I have it slipped inside of this decorative pot, which this one does not have drainage holes. Just be careful when you water because water will accumulate. So for this one, I periodically take it out of here, out of this pot, so I can drain any excess water and then put it back in here and hang it back up. I also love this hanger. There's 4 straps, nice and wide. There's no additional straps here on the side for anything to get caught on, and it's very easy to take the plant in and out. I highly recommend this type of hanging contraption. I will put a link in my notes below if you'd like to purchase this type of hanger. One more thing, as far as hanging plants go, this is my new favorite. This is my new favorite type of hanging pot. So it actually comes with a nice sturdy rope to hang on, and it's adjustable, so you can adjust that. And the reason, this is a variegated lipstick plant that I grew from cuttings. The reason that I love this particular pot is, again, as you can see, I planted this directly into a plastic pot and have it slipped inside. The reason I love this pot, though, is that there is a rubber stopper here at the bottom. And so when you're done watering, you can just simply pull out the rubber stopper, let it drain, and then put it back. And that way you don't have to worry about dripping all over the place. And it's easier to discard the extra water because of the rubber stopper as compared to the pot that I had the Ripsalis in, where I have to actually take the plant out and dump out the extra water. So that is all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some good tips. And I'll also include a link to my blog post where I talk about all of these types of planters if you guys want to go back and read it on your own. So thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. And if you have any requests as far as types of videos that you want me to make, put them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.